Greetings, friends, and welcome to another episode of The Mistake Zone, your weekly dose of our lives and the mistakes within them. My name is Jaren Wade. Joining me, as always, one of my best friends in the whole wide world, Matt Alba. Hey, Matt.
Yo.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Matt, that's great. We're here another week. And, Matt, Prime Day happened last week, or since we last recorded. And,
yes,
Matt, Wallachcoon was safe from Prime Day this week, or this year, but I hate to admit it, Matt, but I linked to you something on Amazon earlier just because it had a sale price, and Matt had an additional coupon that you couldn't apply on top of that. And this tab has been open for a better part of the day right now. And I'm not, of course I don't need it.
Of course.
But I'm talking about the 8BitDo Retro Mechanical Keyboard. The one with the extension that gives you two giant, A and B buttons, because it is, stylized after a NES, using the same color scheme and those, button attachment. Matt, it's tempting. It's tempting, but at the same time, I do not need another mechanical keyboard. But Matt, did you pick up anything during Prime Day?
Jaren, I picked up a couple of things on Prime Day. Jaren, I went to go pay for something at the grocery store, and I slammed my phone against this kind of counter that was beside it. So I cracked my screen protector, so I had to go buy a new one. Luckily,
fair. Happens, Matt.
Yo, Jaren, that's why you buy the screen protectors.
Yes.
Jaren, I bought Monopoly Deal, a card game version of Monopoly, which is pretty good. Jaren,
Matt, before you go on, have you opened it up, taking it out of the package?
Yes, I've opened it up, taken it out of the package, Jaren. I didn't notice some tape that was sealing the thing on the top, and I tore the box a bit.
Hate to see it, Matt. Hate to see it. My condolences, but every time or just in general, a new card game is opened, have to ask, Matt. Have to ask. How's the card quality?
Jaren, this is very, very average card quality.
Oof. Matt, when you say average, how does it compare to the price that you paid?
I think it's very, very fair for the price. Jaren, this game was $7.
Fair. Okay. Yeah, I guess at $7, you're not really expecting something.
It feels like standard bicycle cards.
Okay. Matt, at $7, that's, I'm picking up something for this barbecue or this get-together. I see this card game, might as well pick it up knowing full well that there's probably going to be stains, drinks spilt on it by the end of the night.
That's the reason I actually did go pick it up. Went to go to a Famjam, so had to go bring something.
Was it a big hit at the Famjam?
Yeah, it was pretty good. It's a nice quick filler game that has that feeling of Monopoly and has some good take that moments built into it. That makes it feel pretty good. Yeah, you can get some quick games out. I think a round, once you really know what's going on, really doesn't even take more than 10 minutes.
Okay,
so it's a nice quick play.
And I'm assuming in 2024 there is no Dreamcast with Crazy Taxi hooked up at this Fam Jam.
No, Jaren, it was at a park. It was outdoor.
Fair enough. Sorry for that quick aside.
Jaren, I like I said, went out to this thing and bought some fried onions. Jaren,
Matt, the little crispy ones you get in a bag, right?
Yes, the little crispy ones you get in a bag that you put on top of burgers and tacos and things. Jaren, these things are amazing. I wish I started investing in these earlier.
Matt, we do also have a bag in our pantry right now, and every time we do make some burgers, Matt, I double up on the onions because I'm trying to caramelize some onions beforehand, but also have to throw in some of those fried onions as well. Matt, when I go to the Costco and bring home some glizzies, some fried onions are being put on those glizzies when I get home. Matt, how's the spread at the Fam Jam? Have to ask.
It's pretty good. Jaren, I think it's standard Filipino family park food.
Okay.
You got burgers, you got Filipino food, you have, the usual suspects, Jared. The usual suspects.
Matt, you just rolled up on this fam jam, or just any part. I feel like we have to stress the park aspect because park fam jams hit a bit different than your normal in-house fam jams. But you roll up to the park fam jam, Matt. What's your ideal first plate when you make your rounds buffet style?
Honestly, Jaren, I think my first plate at a park fam jam specifically is always like a burger or like a hot or sausage or whatever, whatever I'm feeling at that moment. And then some kind of noodle. So usually just like, some pancit or some palabok or like, like chow mein if someone brought that. And then Jaren, of course, I feel like lumpia is such an outdoor food.
Matt, I went to visit my parents the other day, and oh boy, did I destroy some lumpia.
Nice. Like you love to do it. Love to do it.
You have to, Matt. You have to. But I digress. I guess this is a choose your own adventure part, Matt. Matt, what do we talk about? Do we keep on the Park Fam Jam route or your Amazon cart route?
Jaren, I don't think there's much left to draw from the Park Fam Jam well.
All right, fair enough.
But Jaren, I think my big purchase of the what do you call it? Prime Day.
Yes.
Was that I bought me some reusable food saver Ziploc bags plus a, little vacuumy thing combo.
That reusable Ziploc bags, not necessarily computing with me right now, but
okay, they're not like Ziploc branded. They're like, you know what the food saver like vacuum sealing thing is, right?
Yes.
So it's kind of like food saver's version of it, but like it seals with like, like almost like a triple Ziploc thing at the top. And then it has like this little valve on the side of the bag where you connect this like handheld food saver vacuum. And that's where it pulls the air out.
All right. Fair. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I haven't seen these in action or in the wild, but reusing a bag, Matt, I have to ask. Have you given this a whirl yet, or?
Oh yeah, I've given it a few whirls here and there.
How's the cleaning aspect of it? That's always what gets me with anything reusable.
It rinses pretty well. I think they kind of like took it into, I guess, consideration that you're going to be reusing these, and like the things that you put in food saver stuff is usually stuff that like you'll want to clean out. So it has been cleaning pretty well. Like I've had like dough in there, I've had meat in there. And like the bags after the use are like still they look good enough to still like use.
Okay. Damn, man, this is next level. We're adults right now. And
Jared, honestly, I'm majority using these food saver things to freeze cookie dough and not get like freezer burn on it.
Matt, that's fair. That's actually really fair. Matt, are you making some cookies?
Yo, bro, I'm jamming on some cookies. Jared, yo, it's so nice that like you can have. They come in multiple sizes, so I have like some little like little things of like these like vacuum sealed bags with just like 8 or 9 little like dough balls in there, and I just like throw those into the throw one at the air fryer at like 325 for 8 minutes. Boom, fresh cookie.
Matt, you're making cookies in an air fryer, of course. You can, but at the same time, never occurred to me to do so. Matt, I need to do more baking in the air fryer or baking equivalent in the air fryer. But Matt, now I'm hungry.
Oh, man.
But it's too late to do that. Plus, we're doing our poop cast. So have to ask Matt, what else is new since we last talked?
Jaren, I, kind of taking a step backwards in terms of sales. I mentioned before when we were talking about the Steam sales that I had bought the DLCs for Case of the Golden Idol.
Yes.
And Jaren, I had spent this week finally playing them.
Oh, nice.
And Jaren, these are some good DLCs, I think.
Okay. Matt? I feel like we're in a pretty good DLC period right now. Considering that I know I said I put a bow on it, but Shadows of the Erdtree has been on my mind as of late, still, even post-final boss. And, Matt, I've been thinking about going back to The Witcher to finally get around to the DLC. But I've been so far gone at this point that I would have to start fresh and oof, big oof, Matt, big oof. But with the Golden Idol DLC, what are just you finished it, correct? Or
I haven't finished the later one, but I finished like one of the DLC sets.
In terms of just overall, before we get into your impressions, how's the length compared to the base game?
So, the length of the first one, The Spider of Lanka, was shorter than I thought it was going to be, but I think it made up for it in terms of puzzle complexity.
Okay.
And then the second one, The Lemurian Vampire, is much longer than I thought it was going to be. And it also has like that higher level of complexity in comparison to like the normal game.
Okay. Before we get into your impressions of Matt, I think, not sure when the last time we talked about Golden Idol was on the show, but can you give us a quick rundown of what the base game is and how the DLC either relates to it or is incorporated?
Yeah. So Case of the Golden Idol is I think it's fair to call it like a point and click, almost like adventure mystery solving game, where you're usually given like kind of like a tableau like scene where you can click on various things, whether it's like the people in that scene, the items in that scene, or like the environment of that scene. And if you like click on like a like actually clickable object, usually it will expand. Like for example, if you click on a person, usually like kind of like go into a separate window where it's like showing that person. It shows everything that they're holding, and then usually like kind of like some speech bubbles of like what they're thinking at that current moment. And the kind of like basis of the game is that from these kind of like more zoomed in perspectives of like, you know, when you click on a person, when you, for example, like click on like a wanted poster sign or something like that, you are one, like kind of gleaming information about the kind of world itself. And like, secondly, you are also gaining words. And these words are used in a kind of like fill in the blank situation where you are going to use these words to solve mysteries that the game provides to you, whether it's what are the names of these characters, to like filling out a timeline of what happened to lead to like this current scene that you're looking at. And the scene is usually like just after some kind of like big murder event or something happened. So you're kind of like filling in the blanks and filling in everything, like, oh, whether you're filling out like a map or you're trying to figure out, hey, there's like 3 characters here. Use the clues within the world to figure out who is like the person that's wearing this mask of the characters that you know. Right. And that's like sort of the basis of like how this game plays.
Okay. And in terms of the DLC, is it something that is, you know, just a bonus, I guess, case afterwards, or does it run parallel to the story in a way?
It actually runs. They are both actually prequels to the main story.
Okay.
So the first DLC is called The Spider of Lanka, and it is a far more similar kind of setup as the main game. It's just a bit more complicated, and with like obviously it's like a lot less cases overall. But like I think the difficulty is still there. But like the Case of the Golden Idol really is about, you know, finding the Golden Idol and then the story of how it kind of like interacts through like a bunch of people's like lives. So this Spider of Lanka kind of starts with how the main character of the main game finds out about the Golden Idol.
Okay.
And yeah, like how they get it.
Does it have a lot of calls to the base game, or do you think it kind of just stands alone on its own?
Okay, so Spider of Lanka itself doesn't have too many direct ties, but it has like a bunch of loose ties, and you're like, oh, I understand now why this happened in the later game, or hey, they fleshed out a character that wasn't really used too much in the main game.
All right, that's pretty good. At least we're getting some. So it's a good blend between potentially reference Easter egg to. I kind of like that when it comes to prequels, just fleshing out a character that you might not necessarily get to know in the base game, and it actually recontextualizes how you perceive them, especially if you were to replay the game. But one question I had when you were first initially bringing it up, Matt, was the complexity of the new puzzles. And when you say complexity, how, I'm not sure if elaborate's the right term, but how would you compare the so-called complexity to the base game?
I think by complexity, what I really mean here is that in the base game, there's a lot of direction in terms of what you need to be solving. Like, for example, if you're looking at kind of like the puzzles in the base game, like I said, you need to kind of like do some like fill in the blanks in terms of what you're getting. Because the way that you kind of have to like solve a case in the case of Golden Idol is that like you have like a thinking screen where you have to, you know, use all your words to fill in all the blanks on that screen.
Okay.
And generally, you know, filling in one blank there or one section can lead you to, you know, understanding a different section. And it's like that sort of like kind of cascading information that leads you to solving the whole puzzle.
Okay.
I think in the base game, what I would like usually do is I would, you know, look at all the words or try to find all the words that I can. Because it does tell you like what the maximum amount of words in each section is, so you know you found all of them. And then I would go to the thinking screen to like see how I can fit everything together. And usually that's like usually all you would really need to do in the base game.
Right.
But the kind of like more interesting way that I think they've done it in Spider of Lanka and the Lemurian Vampire is that the stuff that you're filling out on the thinking screen needs a lot more reference in terms of what you have to do to get that information from like the world itself. To kind of like just like give a maybe like a slight spoilery example on one of them is that in one of the cases it's very you're trying to figure out who everybody is. And honestly, normally I would have expected that you'd be able to do that with the kind of like stuff that they're making you look for, but the kind of like really big clue that's inside of the exploration or like, you know, word finding portion is that somehow everybody is using a different colored ink. So even outside of like that thinking portion that you're filling in the blanks, you need to really kind of scour the world to see who owns what ink or who you think owns like what ink in like that sort of idea.
Okay.
And like kind of just like piecing that together is something that I think added complexity to that first deal, and I guess like both DLCs actually,
Right.
which I kind of or is more complicated than the original Case of the Golden Idol was.
All right. And in terms of DLC support, do you know if there's going to be any more DLC, or is it just what's been released so far?
From what I understand, there isn't going to be any more DLC because they have started working, or I think they've been working a while on the sequel, and
Right.
from what I understand, like the demo for the sequel is like already out, so I'm expecting it's going to release soon.
All right. Oh, true. I forgot that they did announce a sequel to this. But that's cool, Matt. So, Golden Idol, the DLC. Of course, you seem to be enjoying it, Matt. How much more do you think you have to the second piece of DLC before you put a bow on it?
Honestly, I think you probably have like maybe like an hour or two more of the second DLC until I like it done. Because I think maybe like each case like takes maybe in the second one actually maybe it takes like 45 minutes, an hour to figure out on like probably the long end. Right. Because I think the very interesting thing that they did for the second DLC, which wasn't in the first DLCs and like first DLC or the main game, which really shows because it's a very clunky system that they've created, but you're no longer limited to one point in time.
Okay.
Because before, on the very big cases, you would kind of be able to zoom out onto a map and you'd see almost a Google Maps level kind of map that you can further zoom in on into particular places where different tableaus are happening. But in this one, you zoom out to that Google Maps level, and then there's also a timeline that you can go through, and that just adds even more kind of complexity in trying to piece the story together, which I think is a very, very interesting mechanic that I hope is going to be in the sequel. But I hope it's going to be or have better controls to it, because I thought it was a very kind of clunky setup they did, where you have to go to a specific map to change the time that you're currently in.
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. Nice, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Matt,
Mm-hmm.
still on my wish list to eventually get to. I know it's also available on Game Pass.
Yeah.
And maybe it's something I'll look into in the near future. But Matt,
Mm-hmm.
speaking of titles that are on Game Pass right now, this week we saw, or last week since we last recorded, quite a few new releases come to the Game Pass service. And one in particular was one that I was pretty excited for. Well, maybe excitement is a bit of a strong term, but I'm talking about Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn, which was shown off during one of the not E3 presentations, probably the Xbox One. And I know I said I'm on that Elden Ring kick. I've been fighting the urge just to start a new game, but Matt, stealth Elden Ring mention. I know I was once again co-oping with a friend for a hot minute because I needed some items that I can no longer get in my file. Just
classic.
More me setting up to get ready for my New Game Plus run. And surprise, we were invaded once again. And while the invader was focused on my pal, because Matt, I was wearing Fia's dress. That's my not combat outfit. Me back in the WoW days, Matt. But I was hiding behind a pillar, getting ready, putting up all my armor, getting my weapons equipped. And when this invader was dueling my friend, I snuck out behind him, did a backstab, Matt. I peeked. And that was probably the greatest moment I've, forget beating the final boss in the DLC. Me backstabbing this invader felt good, Matt. Felt good. And with Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn, this is, again, they describe it as a Souls-light, where on paper it still has all of the trappings of the genre. Matt, you have XP in the form of reputation, that's your souls. You have a flask equivalent, and you have, bonfires or these altars that, you go to, you can save, you respawn the enemies when you use them. And it's not necessarily a open world, but it is, I don't want to say it's reminiscent of Sekiro, but it is one of those games where you have these encampments, you have these set levels with the major enemies, and then they're interconnected by these, pathways, these areas you traverse. And that's kind of what it is. You do have a map, but it isn't a big open world game, but it is something that you can freely roam around. And luckily, you do have some pretty good traversal mechanics, just because with your protagonist, Nor, she does have access to a little dash. She can double jump. And Matt, double jumping into an air dash always feels satisfying. I think it was kind of jarring going back and forth between Flintlock and Elden Ring, just because I do feel like I have a lot more mobility options and flashy mobility options when it does come to Flintlock. And this isn't necessarily, as I said, they're describing it as a Souls-light. I have seen people make comparisons more so to the Jedi Survivor games. And in terms of presentation, really reminiscent of the modern God of War games. But I think my issue with Flintlock, Matt, is that I am coming off such a big, tight experience in Elden Ring where, for the most part, I do think Flintlock is a good, solid B game. It does have some interesting takes on the genre, but at the same time, Matt, it is, I don't know, it's just not comparable to a Souls experience, like a Sekiro, like an Elden. Even this might be a bit on the harsher side, but not even compared to Code Vein, in my opinion, just because Matt, even though the air dodging, the dashes, it feels pretty good. I think there's some weightiness to it just because, again, it is trying to lift on that slow, in at points, that methodical approach when it comes to Soul games where you have to commit. And even with the double jump to the dash, it's a lot more janky and not as fluid as I would like from a presentation perspective, even though it does feel pretty good doing it during combat and you're kind of just dashing around an enemy. But there's still a weight to that dash, if that makes sense. But in terms of the attack, you have your one-handed axe, and it is a lot of following through, once again trying to commit. But given when the game takes place, the time period, our protagonist Nor, she does have a pistol that you can use to interrupt enemy attacks, especially the one signified by that red dot over their head that signifies that, oh, this is a unblockable attack. So you'd have to dodge in that case or just shoot it out of that attack animation. And your firearm does have 4 bullets, or a limited amount of bullets, and to get more ammo, you have to land 4 melee attacks to get 1 bullet. So it does encourage you to actually get in there, make your hits count, and only really save your pistol attack for disruption. And I know you do get a musket, and that uses its own set of ammo. But overall, Matt, it's... I think my biggest thing with the combat is I'm coming from Elden Ring, and that's a game where I have so many different options where I have to approach, a boss. And with Flintlock, it is kind of the same of, nope, gotta go, plan my melee attacks, make sure I have enough bullets to anticipate an unblockable attack. And I don't know, it's just that unfortunate timing aspect of it's not really sinking its teeth into me, where at least with something like Sekiro, where that has, again, only one real play style, it isn't as tight as that, which brings me back to that B game feeling of, if I played this maybe later on, have some distance from Elden Ring, I think it might be something that might be an easier swallow for me. But for right now, all the little things start to add up. And again, maybe I'm just in that post Erd Tree honeymoon where every little thing that doesn't gel with me makes me just want to go back to Elden Ring, unfortunately. Like, parrying is a big element of this game as well, but even that doesn't feel great. But Matt, 2 other things that I wanted to bring up against Flintlock, where in terms of the story, we're kind of in the trenches of this. Basically, in this world, there's this portal that has demons coming out of it, and Nor, part of her troop, is tasked with trying to shut down that gate. And when trying to approach the gate, Nor does something that breaks a seal, and even more demons are coming out now. And not just demons, Matt, but these gods and demigods. And all of them are coming through and infecting kind of all these other kingdoms and armies, and you kind of have to deal with the backlash, where when you're doing the prologue and all this is happening, you're fighting against these these skeleton demons, zombie looking enemies, and you get to the big bad, and of course it's a fight that you're supposed to lose because story purposes, Matt. And As for a big bad, Matt, I wasn't really a fan of the character design. I think it reminded me of, not sure if this will make sense, but a big heavy enemy from Bayonetta as opposed to like a boss character from Bayonetta, where I thought the enemy design of the demons and the gods that I've seen so far didn't really stick out to me. And once you finish the tutorial and you're in the midst of it, you're just fighting knights. You're just fighting these thief-looking characters from that like that kind of medieval archetype. And I don't know, for a game whose tagline is "Let's kill all the gods," haven't run across a god yet so far. When trying to take over these encampments that are being taken over by enemies, so far they've just been regular dudes. Where again, didn't really grab me as much as I wanted to see what this first demigod that's affecting these armies looks like. But just so far it just looks really generic, and that's kind of a shame. But one interesting take on the Souls-like genre that I wanted to get your thoughts on, Matt, is how they handle their XP, their souls, their reputation system, where, Matt, you kill something, you get XP. That's the basis of pretty much all video games that have XP.
The classic.
Where Flintlock actually has this unique combo system where, say I kill a grunt and I get 100 XP.
Yeah.
Depending on how I killed the grunt, where, I did a parry during this encounter, I slid down a hill before I engaged with him, so I got a slide bonus. And let's say I knocked him out of a unblockable. That gives me plus 30 XP, or 30% XP, where once I kill that enemy, I can bank the 100 XP, the base XP, plus the 30% bonus. Or, Matt, I can keep going and continue that combo, sort of like a extreme sports game where, the next enemy, if I kill them, and depending on the variety, I can add to that base score plus the percentage multiplier. And at any time I can bank that and, add it to my souls, bank, or I can keep going just to try to get it higher. And it creates this risk versus reward factor where, Matt, if you get hit, your combo drops and you lose all that XP.
All of it, or just like the bonus XP?
No, the base and the bonus XP. As long as if you didn't bank it. So, Matt, I think it's a unique take at first, but I found myself getting increasingly more paranoid where I just bank it after every encounter. But for a system like that, Matt, how do you feel about it?
Oh man, okay. Jaren, I think the important thing for me is, when do you have the choice to bank it? Is it only once you kill the enemy? Or can you kill the enemy, walk around a bit, see a hard enemy, and then think, I should bank this?
Yeah, you can bank it. It's whenever you want to bank it.
Oh, okay. I think I'm more on board on this. Jaren, I also think that I am going to probably, in terms of net experience gain, probably end up with half of what I should have had at the end point of it. But Jared, that is a very interesting system. I like me a good push your luck system. Yeah. Even though I know that I never land in the middle of those. I always land on either I pushed too far or I bailed out too early to really get the most out of it. But I don't know. I think in theory, as someone who hasn't played with the system and knows that I would be abused by it, I conceptually like it.
It's one of those where I've only played, again, I think my total time is 4 hours, but I was always on the lookout for, is there some sort of chain I can do where, this is like a stealth section where I can kill 5 guys in a row, get the XP, bank it, and then reset the area. Because I believe once you sleep or you rest at a bonfire, then everything resets. I think it just auto banks at that point too.
I see. Oh, so you can't bird the the thing. This is the point.
Yeah, but again, I wanted to like this game, Matt, but I feel like coming out so close to Shadows of the Erdtree is, again, it's that, I can't stomach Horizon, unfortunately, just because I came off of Breath of the Wild. So I feel like this is the same thing for me, where I might go back to it down the road just to see if the actual enemy designs and the variety really picks up once you're farther from the starting area. I should note that you do get your own buddy, Anik, who is also a god that wants to close up the portal, and he can do a bunch of magic stuff. You have skills trees, and you can build into, I want to focus on the magic aspect, where you can send him to attack or essentially curse an enemy. And once that curse bar fills up, you can do a crit attack on them, or, you can build towards your melee, you can build towards your ranged attacks. But yeah, Matt, it's just unfortunate timing where if you're looking for a solid B experience, it's on Game Pass, it doesn't hurt to check out if you're subscribed. But at the same time, I know it's really unfair to say, but so close from Erdtree, it's just making me want to go back to play some Elden Ring, Matt, unfortunately. But Matt, another game to come to Game Pass this week, this time from Capcom.
Yes.
Matt, did you also check out Kunitsu-Gami, Path of the Goddess?
Yes, Jaren. I did also check it. Jaren, this is what made me reactivate my Game Pass.
Nice. Matt, how far did you get into Kunitsu-Gami?
I think I didn't start, but I think I opened up the 4th area. The last boss I did was the centipede one.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm around the same. So I did the centipede boss, which I believe is boss number 3. And then I just did the 4th map as well. But Matt, I remember when we first saw Kunitsu-Gami in, again, one of these, I believe it was an Xbox Direct or whatever the Xbox showcased equivalent is. And while it looked so striking visually, Matt, aesthetic wise, I love the enemy design here. I just love the color. I just like everything about this. When Flintlock has that, generic introduction, I feel like right off the bat, Kunitsu-Gami's aesthetic just really shines. It's really apparent what kind of, what world you're getting into, full of color, but also just some really grotesque enemies as well, which immediately sold me. But
yeah,
I remember we talked about what kind of game is this? Is this an actual character action game? Is this a tower defense? Is this a strategy game? And that, I think, finally getting our hands on it during the release, I mean this in a compliment, but Matt, this is giving me, and I feel like a lot of people have been saying this, and I do agree with the sentiment, strong Capcom PS2 era vibes, that Capcom 6 or whatever they were when we saw Okami, when we saw Beautiful Joe, when we saw Piano 3. Matt, I like Kunitsu-Gami, Path of the Goddess, but how would you describe what this game is?
Jaren, this game, I think thematically and game design-wise, is unapologetically Japanese.
Yes.
Jaren, the theming, I think, is so on point. The kind of out of combat specifically, the pacing of this game is so Japanese on point. It's so, I think I don't know if the word is meticulous, but it's meticulously paced in a very specific way. And I loved all the kind of aspects that make up the theme of this game, Jaren, except for one.
Yes.
And Jaren, when I saw this and I realized what happened, and this is specifically an English problem because this is a localization problem, Jaren.
Okay.
Jaren, when I went to Japan this year, one of the things that I really wanted to fill out was a Goshuin book. I can't remember if I talked about this on the podcast, which is basically just like when you go to like a shrine or something, you get basically just like this book, and it's what you give it to like the people who work at the shrine, and they will fill it with like a stamp calligraphy type thing. Jaren, when I saw this book, I was so excited.
Yeah,
because like, this is the book that is used for your manual saves.
Yes.
Jared, I wanted to vomit when I saw this book and how horribly butchered they made it in the English version of this game. Jared, I don't know if you looked at, if you know what I'm talking about.
I know the saving aspect, but I'm not sure what issues you had with it.
Okay, Jared, I think this should probably be the show just so people know what I'm talking about, or maybe you can put it in the show post. But Jared, I'm going to show you the English version and the Japanese version of the Goshuin that's inside of this game where you like save. So I've seen you the English one.
All right, so I'm looking at the English. Yep, this is what I'm used to. It's essentially, Matt, it looks like a brochure. It's a fold-out brochure essentially, but more so just a piece of paper that you can save. Yep.
Jaren, this is the Japanese one, and I wish that it was just like subtitled instead of removing the like Japanese calligraphy.
Yeah, I feel that, Matt, where I think the calligraphy really entices the whole, just the presentation, where the English version, I think the issue with the English version especially is it's just a font that they're using.
Yes.
If it was maybe stylized in a way, like just a different font that resembles like ink brush strokes, I think that would be more appealing. Yeah. But I guess for me, Matt, especially with how it's being presented here, I just save in slot 1. It's just slot 1 for me.
Jaren, when I saw what they were doing, I knew I had to save in multiple slots just so I could fill out this book for that experience. But going back to like, the game specifically, Jaren. Okay, so I guess this is like a tower defense. It is a tower defense game, basically.
At its core, yeah, Kunitsu-Gami is a tower defense game.
This is Japanese Orcs Must Die, right?
Yeah, Matt, it's a tower defense game, but at the same time, it's like a payload game where you're also escorting a goddess, and then it turns into a tower defense game where, I guess just to set it up first, Matt, the story of Kunitsu-Gami is that, Matt, tell me if you heard this before. Human greed essentially manifests itself into introducing, the Seath, which is essentially this, defiling entity that corrupts everything it touches. And the Seath ends up taking all the deities' masks that overlook this mountaintop. So you travel with the goddess down the mountain to collect all the masks from these different corrupted villages. And your ultimate goal is to make your way down the mountain so you can collect all the masks and then summon a path to the summit to banish the Seath and the fallen goddess.
Yeah.
Where, Matt, I think alone the story is pretty cool. And but at the same time, it's when the gameplay starts that it took me a minute to kind of get used to, where at its core, as we said, it is a tower defense game, but there is a day and night cycle for essentially a level where during the daytime you go around this area to purge all the defilement in the village. You free villagers who are corrupted, and that in turn adds them to your army, and you collect resources. From there, you can assign different roles, different classes to the villagers you recruit. So far, I just have, I guess, go into 3 different classes. You have your kind of melee attacker, you have your range attacker, and then you have your support classes, where and you use the resources that you find throughout the level to kind of switch roles on the fly. And there's a strategic element to it where, since you can switch classes on the fly, you can really adapt to a situation that presents itself. And in the meantime, you're also plotting a path for the goddess to follow, where the whole point is for you to get to the end Torii Gate, so the goddess can purge it. And in order to do that, you set a path for her. She follows it, but when night hits, she'll stop, and you'll have to defend her from the waves of enemies coming from the corrupted gate. And Matt, this is where the tower defense aspect comes in, where you can really assign where you want your troops to go, but you can also just, fight the enemies yourself, where it becomes this kind of balance of, since you have limited resources, do I want to, save a couple just so I can switch my army's roles on the fly to adapt, or do I want to keep using the resources to plot a path and then make the goddess walk closer and closer to the gate in order to kind of avoid, maybe 3-wave attacks or 2-wave attacks instead of 3. So it's a balancing act in that. But in terms of the actual controlling your character, it's pretty basic so far. You have your basic attacks with X, and then you have the dance attacks with Y, and then you can use them together to create pretty simple combos, Matt, where I think XY, XXY, and so far and so forth are just kind of the combos. But that's kind of the breakdown of the tower defense element. And before we get to the base element, Matt, how do you feel about the actual tower defense day-night cycle for those levels of the game?
Jaren, I'm kind of all over the place in terms of how I feel about the those systems, because Jaren, I think the day portion is very slow for me.
Yes,
I was saying, this is a very Japanese game, and the kind of, you have to draw this path, and the goddess has to dance down it, and then in the meantime, you're running around letting the villagers free from the, their, what do you call it? They're like
corrupted
bindings
pods or whatever. Yeah.
And you're cleaning out the corruptions so that you can open up, that little shrine thing that has a
prize. Yeah.
Yeah, the prize in it. And I don't know. I very much appreciate that you can fast forward this portion. I don't really care for it too much. It seems very slow. I understand that, walking the goddess down to a certain point and stopping her instead of just, going all the way to the max point is probably, beneficial to make use of, those barriers and stuff that are, laid out throughout the level.
Because in theory, you want to stop her in strategic points that, you can best defend her from potential alternate paths, making use of, as you said, kind of gates that you can construct. But, yeah, I think...
Yeah, I just push her all the way to as far as I can push her, because I don't know what exactly you can. I don't know the reasons to not push her as far as you can, because I'm always concerned that I'm going to run into that situation where she's just a few steps short of being able to hit the doorway and end the level.
Yeah.
So I have to do one more night or something like that,
which also puts you in a precarious position just because she's so close to the gate, but she can't cleanse it. That means when the wave comes, not only is she right by the portal, but when enemies come out of that portal, they have that grace period where you can't technically hurt them until they're a few steps out of that portal, which in that case is in front of the goddess. So and if you attack them within that no zone, essentially, then you and your troops get damaged too. So
I didn't realize you get damaged by that yourself.
I think you either get damaged or you take additional damage, because now whenever I attack in that zone, it's no good.
But Jaren, the night cycle I actually do Jaren, the night cycle almost feels like I'm playing a Dynasty Warriors game in terms of how easily you can get rid of enemies.
But also kind of just control your pals too, your army.
Yes,
which I thought
the pal control, not the pal control, the villager control. I think is honestly very well done for what it is.
Matt, I don't want to spoil it for you, but I hope you don't mind. The level you're about to do, I think, is really unique when it comes to the nighttime mechanics. And I guess, slight spoilers, and sorry for ruining it for you, Matt. You don't control your dude during that fourth level. And it's all about managing your troops.
I did do this level. I did that level, yeah.
Yeah, and I thought that was a really unique... Also, Matt, that level in particular is pretty gnarly just because your goddess is getting fucked up by that, I don't know, demon thing that's like eating her face.
Yeah, that was... that was such a weird, I think, like, aesthetic or something to, like, leave that on. Because I thought, she got jumped by the thing. Oh, she's just going to pull it off. But it's just the whole level is her getting eaten by that thing. And I don't know. That was actually like a really wild aesthetic to like go through for that whole level.
But yeah, I do think the nighttime portion is the stronger of the two portions. And this is a game that actively encourages you to replay the levels. Not only because... Matt, one thing I hate, the bonus objectives don't get revealed until after you complete a level. So again, that's something to entice you to replay the levels because you kind of have to replay the levels due to the base building portion. But
Jaren,
at the same time,
I let the goddess get hit was the one time that it had the don't let the goddess take damage thing. Oh man, I tilted so hard.
I know for that map in particular that's the one where you can light up all the different lanterns, and I knew one of the missions is probably going to be light up all the lanterns, so I'm just going to go around lighting all the lanterns, and sure enough, you have to turn on all the lanterns, and then you have to run it back of not turning on any lanterns. So.
Okay. I actually didn't see the all lanterns one. I only saw the like don't turn any lanterns on one.
Yeah, the first one was all lanterns, but
I see.
But yeah, so I keep mentioning it, but in between these fights, you have the base building portion where once you clear a village, you get to essentially rebuild the base. And in that, there are, structures that you can repair. And it's similar to, I like to compare it to the farming in Hades 2, where, you can start repairing the structure, but it will be finished repairing after you do one map or you do two maps. And once it's completed, you'll get the reward, which either is kind of, it could be a new talisman. It could be the currency you use to upgrade your character. I mean, your villagers. I haven't unlocked your character's own skill tree yet, but I'm assuming that you can start using resources to go there as well. But again, it's a game that encourages you to replay levels, not only just to speed or finish your village repairs, but also to do the bonus objectives in order to get more rewards for you to kind of tune your build. So it does create that nice cycle where, maybe I'll just do one more round of this map just because it's pretty easy. I need to clean up some bonus objectives and then I'll get the reward from the base building portion. But I think due to that loop, this game lends itself better to, I'm just going to play a map or two and then call it a day for this game. Because the other day I did a few in a row, and that's when it started. That's when the day cycle started to get to me, where I hate having to re-cleanse everything once you start up a new game. Where, I'll be honest, Matt, I feel like once you clean up a village, you should just bypass that and go straight into night cycle at that point. Because
I can see.
I think I agree with this. The day mechanics is probably the most uninteresting one. But as you said, it feels like it's so intentional for the game. But that's why I think this game works better in smaller sessions as opposed to longer ones. And in between, so you have the village cleansing, and then after you cleanse a village, you get to a boss fight. And those are in smaller arenas, and it's up to you to kind of adapt to what the situation calls for. What I do appreciate in terms of village management, Matt, before we get into the bosses we've fought so far, is that each class has its own skill tree, and I believe there are like 17 or different classes that you can go to. I think the best tip is just to focus on one melee, one range, and one support class, and kind of.
Jared, I just spent all the Musubi that I'm getting into Archer. I just have maxed Archer.
I put everything into the first support class. I forget what the name is, but it's the one that can slow down enemies when they're in the vicinity, and like can also range attack them as well. Where typically I have 2 of those supports, 1 or 2 ranged units, and then the rest woodcutters or a melee class. But I do like how you can pretty much respect them easily. You just go talk to the goddess when you're in the base. But Matt, what have you thought about the boss fights so far?
I like the boss fights. I think they're all like pretty interesting. I hope that in later boss fights there's like more opportunity to like more creatively use the villagers.
Yes.
Because I feel like really, unless you're going for the time attack or like the
the bonus goal,
yeah, you don't really. I've just been like leaving the villagers on like defend for the most part, and like that has been like fine in terms of like keeping the goddess alive. I kind of wish that the goddess was in a different area, because it kind of took me like a couple tries on the centipede fight, because I didn't really understand the mechanic of the boss is like always crowding around you instead of like you having to go to the boss.
Right.
So like I had the goddess like die a couple times just when I was trying to figure it out. I was kind of getting like frustrated, like, oh, I can't even like defend her from this big dumb idiot. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
And then I realized, oh, just like fight on the other side of the room, which was like a weird answer to that question for me.
Man, Matt, I hated that boss fight. Once again, that took me a few tries just to realize what I was supposed to do, where his weak spots were. But yeah, so for the 3 boss fights, I thought they were okay. Not the strongest point in my opinion of the game, but
yeah, I thought they were okay. Jaren, that centipede boss fight, until I really figured out how I'm supposed to get around, like, it's like what do you call it? It's like unblockable attack when it lunges at you for like a couple seconds.
Yeah.
Jaren, I hate the dodge in this game.
The dodge is, Matt, having the dodge be mapped to, what is it? L3, like a analog click. I hate that.
Yeah, no, I rebound
not
that.
Good. Yeah, I should probably rebound that as well. What did you bind it to?
I bound it to like the right face button. I'm assuming that's B or A. I don't know what it is on controllers anymore. Jaren, I moved interact to left thumbstick like in, which is a really weird place for it. But like it's the most out of the way button for something that I don't really need inside of the combat. So I felt
that's
okay.
fair. That's actually pretty fair, Matt.
But yeah, Jaren, that like second of, I guess, like self-stun you have at the end of the dodge feels horrible.
Right. Yeah, it's not great, but Matt, yeah, Kunitsu-Gami, I think this is a good Game Pass game. I know it isn't technically a full price game either. I believe it's only 50 or 60 in the States. But I think this is the type of game I want. We get back to the Hi-Fi Rush conundrum of these are the smaller scale games, the more unique ones that I want to see out of a Game Pass and kind of enjoy playing. And again, I think the way the game is structured lends itself to kind of small bursts where I feel like I've just been doing a map or 2 a day and then calling it, going to play Dave the Diver or something else. And I think that's good enough for me. And also, when I logged in, I got that Okami costume, which I thought was pretty... I'm using the Okami costume, which was pretty neat as well. But yeah, Matt, Kunitsu-Gami, Path of the Goddess. It's a unique take on the tower defense genre. I think the strategy aspect hopefully comes into play more so towards the the later half of the game, since we're still pretty early. I believe there are 27, 28 levels in all. And I guess we just finished level 7, so a quarter of the way there. Interesting to see what else. And there's just a lot of unlockables in general, Matt, from the different talismans. And I just want to see what the main characters or the protagonist's skill tree looks like as well. But looking forward to seeing what else this game has in store. And maybe we'll check in here and there for Kunitsu-Gami, Path of the Goddess, available now, also on Game Pass. But Matt, before we head off to a Don't Match Me challenge, Evo was the other day.
Yes,
specifically last night or this past weekend for us. And shout out to all the winners. I believe Punk was the one who won Street Fighter 6. But Matt, before we end off, I feel like we should go through some of the Evo 2024 announcements and reveals that we saw.
Yes.
Matt? Starting off with Tekken 8. Matt?
Yep.
Heihachi Mishima is not dead.
He's not, Jaren.
He's back in Tekken 8. Matt?
Jaren?
Just in general, how do you feel about people not staying dead in fighting games?
Jaren, that's classic, Jaren. No one stays dead. Even if there's a corpse, no one stays dead. Jaren?
Matt?
Does he look younger to you?
Yeah, Heihachi's been notably getting younger as the Tekken games progress. He doesn't look like a young man, but less gray. His hair is black, less wrinkles. I know it's some sort of science bullshit they have in the story going on.
Because I wasn't sure if I was just missing like Tekken lore on like why he's like seems to be de-aging.
I don't know. It's probably spooky, Matt. It's either the devil stuff or the science stuff. Something, Matt. All I know is when I started playing Tekken, Heihachi had gray hair, and every time I check into new Tekken, he has black hair now. So take that for what you will.
Jared, I want to start playing Tekken, but like I don't want to start playing Tekken.
Tekken is a game that I enjoy just because there is a aspect of single player content. Because Matt, you know me, online scares me. The only online I really do is Street Fighter, and even that scares me these days. But I think with Tekken, it's something that I always wanted to jump into. And as much as I do see Tekken 7 on sale every time a new Steam sale comes around, it's that feeling of, I want to get the new hotness. But so far, I don't believe there are any guest characters for Tekken 8. And I think Tekken 7 had some really good ones as well.
Jared, I'm just trying to con myself into buying a fight stick.
Oh man, friend of Saturday morning alum Mark, he got one of those leverless hitbox controllers. Matt, those look really cool. I really want a hitbox controller or a leverless controller as well.
Jared, those look too intense for me. Like
I don't know. I feel like in terms of Matt. This is how my sick brain works. It's, I can't play fighting games with a controller just because I don't like having attack buttons on my shoulder buttons. I'm going to get a fight stick, and I bet I'm going to become better at video games. Got the fight stick, Matt. And it's like, I prefer the fight stick because it's all laid out for me, but I don't know, using this, using the actual stick portion for movement, this is really hard for my execution. I bet if this was a leverless one,
oh man,
my execution will. Now that's the trap I fall in.
Jared, my like conning into this is that I should get a fight stick because one, it'll make me want to play some of these fighting games that had announcements and stuff at Evo. But also, hey, I can use this when I go to play, that Power Rangers game, which is like an arcade beat 'em up game. So, Jared, I can't get the leverless one because that's not authentic to the arcade.
But for the pill I'm trying to swallow, Matt, I feel like with a leverless hitbox layout, that will make me better at Fortnite Festival on the PC. Just because I'll have the 5 face buttons together for the notes as opposed to the 4 and the one in the corner. Plus, I have the easy button for my star power. So, Matt, I think I have to. Matt, I'm going to link you to some leverless joysticks. I'm going to link you to the one that Mark got.
man.
And we'll debate if we should buy it or the 8-bit Do Nintendo-inspired controller.
Yes, Jaren, the 8-bit Do, like arcade stick and like I guess like the keyboard and stuff as well. Jaren, I am a fan of 8-bit Do in general.
Yeah, same.
I am. One of the reasons that's also like preventing me from buying this arcade stick is how close we are to the Switch 2. It's sort of in theory, and I'm wondering how backwards compatible it's going to be with regards to external controllers. Because I know that the Joy-Cons are going to be different, but I'm wondering like, hey, can I connect this like Pro controller I have to the Switch 2?
Matt, that's fair, but Matt, I linked you to the Loverless fight. It's the arcade stick T16 all button arcade controller with turbo.
Oh man, Jared, what is this? Oh man, Jared, this looks way too. These are like circular buttons. Oh wait,
no, I think that's just how.
Oh wait, are these flat, Jared? These look domed. I don't know if I'm just looking at it weird.
Oh man, Matt.
Oh, I think it's just the angle. Yeah, I thought these were domed buttons at first. Like
same, but it's just the angle that they're showing it. I don't know, Matt. I don't know.
Jared, this has more buttons than I thought it was going to.
I don't know, Matt. I just don't know. But Matt, you know what I do know is that we got our first look at Terry Bogard in Street Fighter 6. Matt,
yeah,
something's off about Terry's face. This doesn't look like Terry to me. Where I've played enough Street Fighter World Tour. Matt, this looks like a bad World Tour avatar. If I had to be 100% honest,
Jared, I just didn't. I thought he looked okay. I didn't like this trailer just because I think it was for me a bit too teaser for a character that's like already a known quantity. Do you know what I mean?
With this teaser, it's essentially his introduction, and we just saw like his introduction cinematic in World Tour mode. Where I feel like this could have been a better one, but he's coming in autumn. So this fall, so they probably don't have enough or want to show anything more than essentially their, World Tour cutscene for him. So I feel like this is in line with how they've been presenting all the DLC characters for Street Fighter 6. But I don't know. They fixed Ken's face in 5, so I'm hoping they fix Terry's face in 6. Matt? I think let's get to the main thing that I think both you and I wanted to briefly touch about.
Yes.
Matt, poor Guilty Gear. That I feel like this Guilty Gear Season Pass 4 trailer should have been the hotness, but Matt,
yeah,
you were the one who originally linked it to me. Where this, Matt, can you break it down? How did this trailer leak before its Evo announcement?
Jared, I think it leaked in the most like dumb way, which is that they left it as unlisted instead of private, and someone just found the URL, and then it got shared, and that's such an unfortunate way for it to get leaked.
Feels bad, man. It feels bad. But Guilty Gear Strive Season 4, we're getting 4 new characters. We have 2 returning ones and 1 new character and 1 guest character. Matt, we have, in terms of characters returning, we have Dizzy, who, Matt, from what I understand of Guilty Gear lore, this is a pretty big glow up for her as well.
Yes.
Everyone's referring to her as Queen Dizzy, which sounds pretty cool. We'll also get Venom in 2025, and then a new character, Unica, who will be central to the anime Guilty Gear Strive Dual Rulers coming next year.
Oh, okay.
But not the first guest character to come to Guilty Gear. We have Lucy from Cyberpunk Edge Runners.
Yes.
Matt, I'm surprised. I know Arc System Works put 2B in the Grand Blue fighting game, but I'm really surprised this wasn't 2B.
Yeah.
At the same time, Matt, what do you think of Season 4 of Guilty Gear Strive? As outsiders looking in, of course, and fans of Cyberpunk's Edge Runners.
I mean, I remember like the whole big thing of Dizzy when she was in the earlier Guilty Gear games. I was surprised to see that Venom wasn't already in Guilty Gear Strive, because I thought that he was a standard character in like the series. So it's surprising like see that they're getting added now. I didn't know Unica was going to be a tie-in for the anime, so that's actually pretty interesting for me.
Yeah,
and
that's pretty cool too.
And Jaren, Lucy, I like Lucy Jaren. I think she actually fits pretty well into like the Guilty Gear cast.
Yeah.
And Jaren, okay, one of the things that kind of like really threw me off is that someone I remember like seeing that in the comments of the trailer that they were like clowning that they had to pull somebody from the anime because the game was like, I don't know, like quote unquote so bad. But who do you pull from the game? Right? I don't know who you pull from the game to put into Guilty Gear, other than, you know, going to the anime and pulling Lucy.
I feel like someone from Edge Runners is the obvious pick just because it's aesthetic. Where when thinking about base Elden Ring, I mean, sorry, Matt. When thinking about base Cyberpunk, Matt, you know what I'm going to be playing after this podcast. Matt, of course you put in Johnny Silverhand, right? You have to. If you can sign off Keanu.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. You need to. That's a big if on like signing off on Keanu.
Yeah.
Like, I think that like in order, it's like him, and then like I want to say Adam Smasher, but like, you know, he's like canonically gone, sort of, maybe.
Fair.
At the end.
Yeah, it's Johnny, it's Adam Smasher, and to be honest, if you want the flashiness of a Guilty Gear, you need to put Lucy because she has the tripwires or whatever. Because I don't remember anyone from base Cyberpunk, or not base Cyberpunk, the game actually, to really use those tripwires.
Yeah.
There's that ninja guy you fight, but at the same time,
yeah, he's not like not like a front center character for the Cyberpunk franchise.
But yeah, Matt, I don't know. I feel like you could get away with someone in the game, but when you think about aesthetic wise, you just pull from Edge Runners, which it's a really interesting pick for me. And again, I feel like Lucy, just with the tripwires, really puts her up there, even though, people thought, oh, Rebecca could be cool, David could be cool. I think unique moveset wise, you do have to go with Lucy. And I think that it's an out of left field pick, but I think it's one that, yeah, you're right, really does fit well kind of overall with the cast. And I'm excited just to see how she looks in the game and just her playstyle as well. And still surprised there's no 2B, but there's always season 5 for that, Matt. Matt, I think those were kind of the bigger announcements for me personally. Was there anything else you saw in Evo that stood out to you?
Not really. It reminded me that Grand Blue Fantasy Versus is a thing, and aesthetically, it is something that looks really, a really good anime fighter to me, even though it's not technically an anime fighter. But, it's going to live there in fighting games that I never play because they're fighting games.
Fair enough, Matt. Fair enough.
Yeah, but yeah, other than that Grand Blue thing, I don't think I really have anything else that really stood out to me. Maybe it was cool to see that, hear that Beetlejuice is going to be in multiverses.
Samurai Jack. Yeah, Samurai Jack and Beetlejuice. I know Warner Brothers just picked up the studio as well, or just acquired the studio. We have new King of Fighters 15 character. We have Mature and Vice. Matt, I forgot there was a new Fatal Fury game. We added Kevin Rian to it. And yep, Matt.
Jaren, there's a game that I'd never heard of prior to this called Under Night in Birth 2 Sicilies. I don't know how this is supposed to be read. Jaren, this looks like the most anime-ass fighter that I feel like us in, early Saturday morning arcade would have been like, oh yeah, let's go give this a try because it's anime.
Under Night in Birth fans go hard.
Oh man, it's
a
good title.
That's a good. I feel like Under Night fans and Melty Blood fan. Is that the game, Melty Blood?
Jaren, I know Melty Blood as a property. I have no idea what Melty Blood actually is.
Same, man. I know I see it being talked about in the fighting game circles, but not fighting game fans go hard.
Oh man.
But that was another beefy boy episode of the Mistake Zone. But
yes,
can't end it on Evo, but we can end it on a Don't Match Me challenge.
I mean, Jaren, we can end it as close to Evo as we can with this fighting games Don't Match Me challenge.
Ooh, Matt. Nice.
So the rules for this game, as usual, are that I am going to ask 5 questions. The goal of you, the player, is to not match my answer. So, the questions I'm going to ask are all about fighting games. So, Jaren, my first question is: name a fighting game franchise based on a non-fighting game property.
Oh.
So yeah, anything that's like, that like basically has a fighting game but isn't from a fighting game originally.
Okay. Oh,
Okay.
Interesting, Matt. Interesting.
So I'm gonna give a countdown from 3, 2, 1. Jaren, I went with the Persona 4 Arena franchise.
Oh, Matt, good pull. I love me some Matt. Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, all-timer box art. All time, Matt, I think about that box art constantly.
Jaren, I remember buying that game just to get the cards and then returning the game.
Same. Matt, I'm still in it because I said Power Rangers Battle for the Grid.
Oh man, Jaren, that's another thing I could use that fight stick on.
Matt, Chun-Li and Ryu are in this game.
But Chun-Li and you say Reaper?
Ryu.
Oh, whoa! That's wild. I actually did not know that.
Okay. You didn't see Power Ranger Ryu and Chun-Li?
I don't think I did.
Oh man!
Oh wait, no. You know what? I am remembering this now because I remember like Power Ranger Chun-Li doing like the spinning bird kick.
Yes.
Okay.
Good times, Matt. Good times.
Good times. Jaren, we've been doing this podcast for a very long time.
Yes.
But I think Saturday Morning Arcade started it in what is technically Generation 7 of video games.
Yes.
So would have been a lot of games that we didn't have a chance to talk about. So my next question is to name a fighting game franchise that has not had a game or sequel since the PS2, Xbox, GameCube generation, which was around like, I would say like the cutoff would maybe be like 2010-ish at like the earliest. So anything that's hadn't had a game since like those systems or earlier.
Okay.
So
basically, fighting game franchise without a new game
in like 15-ish years.
Okay. Ooh, this one's a toughie, man. This one's a toughie.
You know what? Since this is a bit of a toughie, I'll give 7 seconds instead of the usual 3.
Okay.
All right. So 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Jaren, I went with Bloody Roar.
Oh, Matt, that's a good pick. That's a really good pick. Matt, I went with War Gods.
Ooh, Jared, I don't even know what that is.
Matt, you don't remember War Gods from the N64?
Oh, man, I don't think so.
Matt, the only reason I think of War Gods is...
Jared, I'm looking at screenshots of this. What is this game?
Matt, all I remember is one of my friends in elementary school was so excited for War Gods to come out. And then War Gods came out. We rented it, and this game was booty.
Oh man, Jared, this looks like a rough Mortal Kombat.
I think it was, Matt. I think it was.
Oh man,
it was from Midway too. So.
Oh, that makes sense.
Shout out Midway. Shout out Mortal Kombat.
Okay. Oh, Jared, you might be able to use something from Mortal Kombat for this question. I'm not totally sure. I can't fully remember Mortal Kombat, but. Jaren, my next question is, name a fighting game character who is non-human.
Oh, non-human.
Non-human. So,
okay.
Just name that character.
Do ghosts count as human?
I'm gonna say ghost won't count if the ghost of a human.
Okay.
Okay. So, name that character in 3, 2, 1. I've gone with Gon from Tekken, the little dinosaur.
Nice. Matt? I similar wavelength. I went with Lizard Man from Soul Calibur.
Hey. Oh man.
Matt, I was scared you were going to pick Lizard Man, so I was jumping back and forth between Lizard Man and Kuma from Tekken.
Oh, Kuma was my other thought on who I should pick.
Okay. Matt, what other answers were there for this one? There's Kuma, there's Panda from Tekken.
I can't remember his name. I think it's like Motoki or something. The like wooden training dummy from Tekken.
And by extension, Pac-Man from Street Fighter Cross Tekken, who I believe controlled one of those.
I was also thinking of like, Saberwolf or like basically all of the Killer Instinct.
Oh, yeah. Matt. Where do most of the Darkstalker characters fall in this question?
Jared, I think technically they're not human, so that would have been acceptable answers. I was also thinking of like Pokken, where it's just all Pokemon.
Oh, fair.
They're technically real answers here as well.
Matt, if someone picked a Felicia, a Morgan, or a Lilith, would you let that slide? Or
Jared, that's yeah, they're not human, but like, come on, you need to play within the bounds of it. It's a technically but you're skirting the bounds here.
All right, fair enough.
Okay, Jaren, my next question is, Jaren, again, another character question. Name a fighting game guest character that doesn't originate from another fighting game.
Oh, okay.
So just any guest character that doesn't originate from a fighting game. So 3, 2, 1. Jaren, I've gone with Homelander from Mortal Kombat.
Nice. That I was worried because I went with Negan from Tekken 7.
Oh man, I forgot he was in Tekken. Oh.
One of the most out of left field guest characters. Still a memory. People were not a fan of Negan being in Tekken 7.
Yeah, I can see it. I can see it.
Such a weird pull. But still in it, Matt. Still in it. Matt, before we move on, same thing for the last question. Matt, what other guest characters stick out to your mind? Because Matt, when you think of guest characters in fighting games, I think just by how we grew up, is the one that instantly comes to mind for you one of the Soul Calibur ones, or
you mean like Spawn?
Spawn, Link, Hihachi, or when I say fighting game guest characters, who comes to mind immediately?
Honestly, for me, it is Terminator. When Terminator was in, I think, Mortal Kombat.
Yes.
Obviously, Jaren, this question was inspired by the Lucy pull from the Evo news. Who else was
2B in 2 fighting games, from what I can tell? Soul Calibur and Grand Blue as well. Speaking about guest characters, Soul Calibur, man, Soul Calibur could have been its own Smash Brothers. You had Link, Heihachi, Spawn, of course, but Matt, people forget. You had Kratos and that PSP one, I believe. Ezio, it was in one of them. Geralt, a guy from Matt. A lot of guest characters in Soul Calibur. Bring back Soul Calibur. Do it, Namco.
Has there not been a recent Soul Calibur game? I feel like
Soul Calibur 6 was the one with Geralt on the cover, but that was a minute ago now.
Ah, okay.
That's a minute ago now.
Jaren, last question. Of course, Jaren, you got to end it on the pinnacle fighting game, Jaren.
Yes.
Jaren, name any game in the Super Smash Brothers series. Jaren, any title game.
Oh no. We made people mad, man. I was just goofing.
Nope. Jaren, just name any game in Super Smash Brothers, the most obviously popular fighting game there is.
Man, I have to ask, did you change this on the fly, or was it always Smash Brothers?
No, Jared, I have this typed out.
Okay.
Jaren, just name me any game in the Super Smash Bros. Franchise. In 3, 2, 1. Jaren, I went with Super Smash Bros. Brawl.
Oh, Matt. I went with Super Smash Brothers for the 3DS.
Oh,
Is that its name?
Jared, I was thinking that as like the answer I wanted to give for getting the gachas, yeah.
Yeah. Damn, you would have got me, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
You would have got me, Matt.
Obviously. The pinnacle fighting game, Super Smash Bros. Brawl.
Matt, can I tell you something that weighs on me a lot?
Sure.
You know what I think about every now and then? Matt, before our pal, I'm not going to say his name.
Okay.
But you know, veteran Saturday morning arcade people can probably infer. Matt, I let said pal borrow my copy of Super Smash Bros. Brawl. And Matt, I don't know where that copy is anymore. Matt, I also let another friend borrow Soul Calibur 3. Don't talk to that friend anymore. So
I'm never gonna get that back.
Oh for 2 for fighting games that I'll never get back.
Soul Calibur 3 was a good Soul Calibur.
Matt, Soul Calibur 3 is one of my favorite games. Matt, I know I asked you this in passing, but I think one of these days when we need to, I might try to put together my top 25 games of all time.
Oh, man.
Because, Matt, I don't think 10 is enough. I think I like too many things, and I'm curious if I would put Soul Calibur 3 up there in a top 25.
Man, Jared, a top 25 like games list is so hard for me because I don't know like whether I should consider like, you know, does it hold up now? Is it like, oh, am I basing it on like the time I had with it when I played it? Like,
I feel like for the way I would approach a list like this is a combination. I think for me, Matt, when it comes to my best of list, I think a lot of that comes to the emotional attachment to that, where it might not hold up today. I think that will play a role in it. Of course, if it holds up, it would be higher on my list. But depending on how strongly I felt at the time and kind of what it means to me personally, that's how I would judge mine. I think mine is a lot more how it made me feel with gameplay second rather than gameplay first and like emotional. I think that's how I would approach something like that. But we'll put that in the vault for now, Matt. Matt, another beefy episode, and thank you for that Don't Match Me challenge. Matt, I thanked you out of order. Now I'm all thrown off and I'm flustered, but Matt, want to thank you as always for joining me this week on this beefy episode of The Mistake Zone, editing this podcast, bringing together Don't Match Me for this week, and Matt, of course, supporting my bad purchases.
Yo, as always, thanks, Jaren. I, of course, want to thank you for hosting the show, you know, bringing in this Evo portion of the episode and giving me something to base my Don't Match Me on.
Thanks, man. And Matt, I want to thank 2B, of course. I want to thank Volcanoes. Matt, I want to thank these War God sprites.
Oh, man, Jared, really bad. This is a rough-looking game.
I'm just going to watch a War God. Matt, hopefully YouTube has some competitive War Gods for me to watch afterwards, but until then, Matt, take it away.
This has been Mistake Zone, and we're all out of War Gods.